The first is, I sort of referenced this, is do your homework. I think the most respectful thing you can do for the person you're interviewing is demonstrate to them that you respected their time and their yes to sitting in your, passenger seat by doing your homework and giving them the information ahead of time that they need to be successful. I think those are two huge signs of respect that end up with a much better interview. So the homework varies. Many times I interview people who have recently written a book, which means I take the long approach of reading their book, not just the 2-paragraph PR thing, but I read their book because I don't say yes to an interview if I don't actually care and don't actually want to know. And I don't empathize with the listeners or the readers who really want more than like a high level synopsis of something. They want to get into the weeds. And then I typically look at other interviews they've done and I try to not be repetitive around all of the questions that they've been asked everywhere else. Depending on the amount of access I get to the person beforehand, I may ask, are there any topics you are kind of burnt out on talking about and you don't want to discuss anymore, anything that's off limits? And then I think a really great question can also be, do you have a greatest hit? Like, is there something you would love for me to tee you up for and ask? And then to try and spend a minute or two in the beginning, if time allows, just building rapport with someone, letting them know as a reminder, because oftentimes, when you're interviewing someone on a book tour, like I've interviewed Seth Godin on many of his book tours, they are going from thing to thing to thing, and they have no idea who you are. They have no idea what publication you're representing or what the platform is. So you just remind them like, hey, I'm Dara, this is going to be on my blank, and it's going to go out in X amount of time so that they know. I think it's really helpful to let them know who the audience is so they can cater their messaging to who is listening or reading. And then it's really about you setting the tone. So it's about being conversational. It's about really listening. So even though I'll have a roadmap of questions, and sometimes they'll see them ahead of time, sometimes they won't, it's listening exactly like you're doing with me and hearing what's actually happening in the conversation and allowing it to move and say, that point is really important, and not getting so blinders on to where you thought you needed to go, but instead seeing there might be some magic in what's actually happening here. Because one of the worst things that can happen is someone is answering and they've given you this beautiful soliloquy on something and you don't even react and you just move on to the next question. It almost like kills their heart because they're thinking, I just poured my heart and soul into this answer and you didn't even address or acknowledge it. Doesn't mean you have to build off of every one. And then one of the things that I think happens wrong all the time that I hope people will take note of, and this did not happen here, is to open the interview with, so tell us about yourself. Because you've basically put someone in a position of, how much time do I have? And what are you actually trying to get at? And do you even know? And where is this going to go? It immediately loses that trust. And you also lose control of the interview because that could be a really short soundbite that is not helpful towards where you want to go. Or it could be your entire conversation time. So that should be something that you either do on a pre-taping where you say, hey, we're going to do your bio and introduction before or after, and you don't have to be here for that, but just trust we're going to do it. Or that you set the person up with that, just like you did, where you make them look great and you sing their praises for them. And then you set them in the direction with a pointed question of where you want to go.